You shouldn't feel guilty about saying no. Sometimes in life, our family and friends are in a different season than we are. And the decisions that they're making financially may not sync up with what we are trying to accomplish in our own lives. And when it's with our own friends and family, it can be very difficult to tell them no. If they're asking you to spend time with them by, say, going out to eat or going on an expensive vacation or something that is similar to those kind of examples, it can be hard to tell them no and disappoint them by being the bearer of bad news, if you will. But whether it is a financial situation or even just your own personal life, leave the money out of it. It is important to learn to say no, and you shouldn't feel guilty about saying no. So I've mentioned before that I am a school teacher, and this is something in my particular career we have to learn early if we want to survive as a teacher. If you don't learn to say no as a teacher and not feel bad about it, you get burnt out very quickly. It's very important to set boundaries in your life and stick to those things when you need to. So like, for example, I really do not respond to parent emails after work hours. And the reason why I don't do that is because if I do respond, I'm going to get parent emails constantly during the evening. And yes, I do have my work email attached to my phone. I know that's a big no-no for a lot of people, but I do like to have some awareness of what I'm going to walk into the next day when I'm going into the classroom. So I will see like the headlines of the notifications, and then I'll just swipe them away to but right back to when I get back into the classroom. So that's something of an example of learning to say no and set boundaries. And it's not just teachers that need to do this. It's everybody that needs to do this, because people will take advantage of people who are people pleasers, people who always say yes to everything. When you say yes to everything, you're telling people that they can basically put anything on you, and you will do it for them, essentially turning you into kind of a servant in a way. Now, let's take a step back, because I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of saying no in your personal life. I want to go down the direction of saying no when it comes to finances. So, obviously, when people are asking you to, let's say, go on an impromptu restaurant expense or something like that, and you don't have it in the budget, it again can be hard to say no to that because it doesn't seem like a big thing, right? And you don't want to displease your family or friends by telling them no. But there are some things that you can do, and I'm going to go and bring those up now, that you can do in response to a family member or a friend requesting you to do something that is going to end up messing up your budget. So here's the first thing you could do. You could tell them no, like I've said earlier, and you shouldn't feel bad about it, but give them an explanation why. A lot of people will be a lot more understanding when you give them the bigger picture. Now, you don't need to go down a long monologue and tell them your whole life story or anything like that. Just give them a little bit of information that they can understand why you're telling them no right now. It could be as simple as, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now because it's not in the budget. Or, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get out of debt right now, so I can't really be spending money on coffees and restaurants or vacations or whatever it is that your friends and family are asking you to do. By giving them an understanding of what your goals are, if they're a true friend or a good family member, they will be understanding of what your goals are and try to not mess you up. Right? Like, for example, if you told them that you were dieting or doing something different besides finances, I'm sure that your friends and family would be more accommodating to you, right? They would try to work it into their schedule somehow or work it into their plan somehow so that you can still spend time with them but not compromise on these life goals that you have. Well, if that's the way that they're going to be in other areas of your life, then I'm sure they'll be that way when it comes to your finances too. And if they're not understanding, well, you can't really control what other people are doing. You need to just hold firm to your standard, hold firm to what you are trying to accomplish, and you have to be okay with people's reactions being different. You can't control other people's actions or reactions. You can only control your own. So if they're going to react negatively to you trying to accomplish a goal, financially speaking, well, that's kind of a them problem. It's not really a you problem, and there's not much you can do about it. So again, don't feel guilty about that. Here are 2 other things you can do that don't actually require you saying no, at least not the way that I mentioned earlier. So the next one is to say not right now. This is another thing I've learned as a teacher. Kids will come to me all the time asking to go to the bathroom, and some kids, I'm thinking in my head, boy, you have gone to the bathroom like 3 times already today. You do not need to go right now. Now, of course, I know if I tell them no, go back to your seat, some kids might respond negatively to that and then say it's in their right as an American to use the bathroom or whatever, thing that spills into their mind in that moment. I have found that it's easier to tell them, no, not right now. Or how about you get this done first and then you can go. So you can use that strategy with your family and friends too. If they're asking you to do something that's not in the budget, you can simply say, I'm sorry, I can't do that this month, but next month I think I can do that. Want to schedule a time there? Or I'm sorry, it's not in the cards right now. I'll let you know when it is. In that case, you're telling your family and friends that you are willing to participate in those things, the things that they're inviting you to do, but that you just aren't able right now. You're showing willingness, still holding to your boundaries, and hopefully not breaking a lot of feelings or hurting a lot of feelings by telling them no. So it's kind of an easier way to let them down, if you want to think of it that way. The third and final thing that you can do if you are trying to work around your family and friends inviting you to all these different things financially that may or may not be in your budget is that you can plan for it. You can make a line item in your budget that is impromptu, an impromptu fund, so that you can spend money and enjoy these things with your friends, of course, within reason. My wife and I, we always leave a little extra money left over in our budget that will just end up being saved if it's not used. But the reason why we leave that little bit of money left over is sometimes we go over in different line items that we plan out for the month, and that money is the cushion that softens that blow. So sometimes we go over in restaurants, but because we have the extra money left over, we don't have to feel as bad because that money can soften that blow. Or if we go over in groceries, same thing. We have that extra money to cover that expense. So you could do the same thing. You could set up your budget to have some sort of impromptu fund to help you say yes to some of your family and friends' requests each and every month when they are wanting to do things with you that require you to spend money. But circling back, as I wrap up this segment here, circling back to saying no, it is an important skill to learn to say no, not just financially, but in life in general. And if you are really struggling with that, then you need to practice more. Practice saying no. Start by saying no to little things, and then, work your way up from there. Because if you don't learn to say no, you are going to burn yourself out. You're going to wear yourself out. You're not going to want to help people as much in the future because you've basically been doing that your whole life and you're tired now. So you need to learn that sometimes no is the right answer to the request that is being made. And guess what? In many cases, their request will just go to another person. Yes, you said no, but that doesn't mean that everyone's going to say no. Somebody else might say yes and step in and help. It doesn't always have to be you saying yes every single time. And you shouldn't feel guilty about it. In fact, you might even be surprised when you say no for the first time. The person on the other end of the request may actually be very understanding. And then you might be surprised by the fact that, oh, that actually wasn't as bad as I was making it out to be in my mind.